Good morning, YouTube. So let's talk about last night's stealth camp and why I chose it. So basically, yesterday I was doing some exercises in the park, and obviously to do exercises in the park, you have to look up a local park, especially when you're not familiar with the area. Well, the good thing about having to look up a local park is usually local parks are near local neighborhoods. So if you don't know where the local neighborhoods are, it's a good way to find the local neighborhoods and just sort of get a sort of overview of what kind of sort of neighborhoods are around. Now, this particular neighborhood I'm in, it has a lot of cars that are street parked. And it's good to find a lot of cars that are like parallel parked on the street, a reasonable number that an unusual car where somebody could, in theory, be visiting somebody in the neighborhood sort of works. Now, this is officially my first time really parking on the street with this van. I didn't change much of what I did when I used to like street park in a minivan. I cruised around, dipped through some streets where it looked like they had a decent amount of street parking. And I did it kind of during the day-ish. I didn't wait till night and sneak in and slide into a spot and then rush to get out in the morning. Like, I didn't do any of that. I just kind of cruised around for, sort of that look where, like, a couple people have driveways, but there's a couple of cars on the street for, like, people who are showing up to visit or people who might know somebody in the neighborhood. But the street parking is like tight enough that you might have to park 2, 3, 4 houses from the house that you're actually visiting. So I'm looking for that kind of stuff. And so I found this little spot and it was really, really great. On one side, thankfully the side where I have my barn doors, there is basically a fence and a sidewall to somebody's house. Now there is a house like slightly in front of where I'm parked, but there's like a tree there. Like, there's a tree blocking their windows in relationship to where I'm parked. So the chances of them kind of like looking out the window and like even being mildly suspicious, which there was no reason for them to be, is kind of low. Like, I'm kind of blocked off on that barn door side of the van. Now, across the street on the other side of my van is a house. A house with plenty of front-facing windows that could, like, have somebody casually look out and see the van. But the thing is, that's the dark side of my van, as I like to call it. The side without the barn doors. That's the side with the furniture up against the wall. That's the side where I never move the curtains. So those windows always look super tinted on that side. So the fact that they're facing the house didn't really bother me. The chance of a light bleed even getting out in that direction is slim to probably not going to happen. So like, I was all for it. I was like, okay, I'm not really worried about anybody like looking on that side of the street and being like, oh, there's some creepy person in there. Now, it does actually help that this is a conversion van, I personally think, and not the cargo van version of the Chevy Express. Now, mind you, in a very basic sense, mechanically, to some extent, size-wise, there isn't that much difference between the conversion passenger van version of the Chevy Express and the cargo van version of the Chevy Express. But the fact that this looks a little bit more like what a family might buy to go on, like, beach trips or something, helps, I think, a little bit more than having just like your standard generic creepy white van. But I don't know. I've never lived in a cargo van. I honestly think even if I had a cargo van, it would have got away with it as well. But generally speaking, I don't think like it was that, you look out and you just see a van that, again, could be a passenger van. People like to say, oh, what about the cargo carrier and the solar panels? Nobody's looking that deep about it. Like, I don't know what people are doing to get targeted as often as they are targeted, because I'm just not. It just doesn't happen. especially if you're respectful and quiet and you are literally wrapping up your day by the time you're doing this kind of parking. So that's pretty much why I chose the spot. On the side where my barn doors are, which I frequently use as entrance and exit doors, there's a wall, like the side of somebody's house, and a fence, and like enough trees that even if somebody like were looking outside, all they're going to see is a tree. And then on the other side, the side I like to call the dark side of my van, there's never any light, because that's the side that the furniture is on, and that whole side of my van is pretty much blocked off. Now, I do get more light bleed probably out of my rear windows than anywhere else, because they have pop-outs, and I just pop them out for ventilation. And even though I have shades down over them, I never use those as entrance exit doors. They're loading doors. I go and open the back doors to like get my exercise equipment out and stuff like that. But I never really entrance or exit through my rear doors. However, they are the windows that I am more likely to pop out at night to get a little bit of like fresh air coming in. And especially in Reno, because it was like super hot. Like I was so glad when the sun went down. Oh, you don't know. I swear, if I wasn't waiting on a package, I would be leaving Reno like right now. But I did a ship to store, and for a part I need, stuff happens. You're on the road and you're like, oh crap. So I ordered something from Home Depot, and I'm going to go pick that up on Thursday when it comes in. So I'm sort of stuck in Reno till then. And I haven't really done much fun in Reno, to be quite honest, because like I just had a day of like decompressing and chilling once I got out of California. So yeah, that's sort of the reason I chose the stealth camping spot that I did. It was not hard. And I think a lot of the times people just want an immediate answer. Like they want like, go to 245 this street and you'll be safe to park. If you really just want to explore and get out and not be restricted, you just got to learn how to cruise for where to park. Now, if you get an RV, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I don't know, because I've never owned one, but I assume if you have like a standing height large van, there just might be some issues because they're larger vans. So the bigger van you get, I mean, even the difference between the minivan and this van right now in this whole stealth camping cruise is I'm just thinking about parking a larger vehicle. Like, very little else has honestly changed, because even in the minivan, I had what I called the dark side of my van, and that was the side of the van where I was like least like, even though when doors opened on both sides, there was only the driver's side, so it's actually the opposite now. When I was in the minivan, the sliding door on the driver's side was my main entrance door if I was just going into my house part and not my car part. That sounds so weird. And on this van, it's the opposite, because the driver's side is over here and the cargo doors are over there, which is funny because my bed's on the same side. So yeah, that was pretty much it. If you have any more questions about why I chose this spot, how I choose stealth parking spots, feel free to drop them in the comments. I don't really know what to say. So much of this is instinct by me at this point. I'm going to try to cover some more stealth parking because, like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of city traveling. So I'm not really going to do a lot of, like, camped out on BLM land, which I've talked about in a previous video, so I'm not going to get into those reasons. So I'm not really doing BLM land and that kind of stuff. I am intentionally cruising through cities and main areas, at least on my way to the East Coast. Now, coming back from the East Coast, I might, stray off the path a little bit as far as like main roadways and maybe doing some more like forest and BLM and wild sort of camping and staying, but I sort of have a mission in getting to the East Coast. And also, like I said before, this van is still in a lot of ways new to me. I haven't really traveled in it, it's doing great. Like, I have really no complaints about it, but I really want to get my feet wet with this van while I know I'm generally able to access most resources should something not go quite right. Like, I'm not quite ready to go too far off the beaten path with it. And that's just me, you know, trying to be safe, trying to really test this van out, trying to give it some good legs before, like, I jump off the deep end. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video.